Hi and welcome to Thriver TV and an amazingly beautiful sunny Melbourne day. Spring is here at last. And today I want to talk to you about the 5 ways to rebuild your self-belief after narcissistic abuse, because after being narcissistically abused, people know that their self-worth has been stripped. And why wouldn't it be when every insecurity, fear and inadequacy that you felt about yourself, others and life has erupted and it's blown up in your face? After being narcissistically abused, not only do we doubt that we're lovable, desirable, capable or adequate, we even doubt our ability to stay vertical, survive our wounds, or live as a human being on this planet in a way that is not tormenting beyond belief. And if we thought that we had doubts about ourselves before narcissistic abuse, now it has gone to unthinkable levels. We may not have realised the interconnectedness of things, of self-belief and belief in others and belief in life are all deeply conjoined. And when one topples, the entire cosmos of our existence is adversely affected. After narcissistic abuse, all 3 are affected beyond belief. And today in this episode, I want to grant you 5 ways that you can start rebuilding your self-worth after narcissistic abuse. And in fact, I want all of us to do better than rebuild, because I know, believe and stand for and live the reality of rebuilding to levels that we never were at even before narcissistic abuse. And of course, this can go gently and you can take your time. There's no expectation or race in your healing. This is just a beautiful promise that is what you've got to look forward to. Okay, so let's get started. The first way to rebuild yourself and the entire platform of the other 4 steps is to connect with yourself. And until now, we may not have realized that we've been trying to get connections outside of ourselves, yet they were only ever reflecting back the real inner connection that we had with ourselves. And that our salvation, sanity, solidness, and ability to be and feel okay and thrive in life, as well as generate a healthy life, has to start with our connection to ourselves, because that is the quantum engine of everything in our experience. And naturally, after narcissistic abuse, your inner landscape is going to feel like a war zone that you may think you want to avoid at all costs. But I can assure you the traumas without your loving presence and self-partnering are going to shred you to pieces more and more the longer that you stay disconnected from yourself. The best way I know of how to connect to yourself and shift trauma out and bring light and well-being in is with Quantum Freedom Healing, which is the NARP program. And there's nothing else I know of that works so powerfully, quickly and conclusively to achieve that. And whether we're using quantum tools or not, those hurt parts of us inside us, the trauma triggering off all the symptoms of panic and anxiety and depression, we need to go towards those and love them back to wholeness, rather than trying to disconnect and run from and ignore those parts of ourselves. Why? This is the answer. How can we believe in ourselves when we're self-abandoning and self-rejecting? We can't, because our foundational inner relationship, which is the basis of all and every relationship we will ever have, is fractured. The starting point is always this: I now know finally that I need to repair and heal my relationship with myself, because my entire life depends on this essential foundation. Step number 2 to rebuilding our self-worth once we're committed to self-partnering and wanting to love ourselves back to wholeness is to establish our own inner identity. When you were narcissistically abused, did you know who you were? Have you ever known in your life what it is to live your own authentic life rather than hand over your rights, needs and desires to try to win love and approval or survival and security from others? So who are you as an individual? And when you start answering these following questions, you can start to get an idea of who you are. And I strongly suggest playing back this video and writing these questions down, and then sit with them with a journal to deeply feel into these questions and write your answers. What do you stand for? What do you like? What don't you like? What qualities would you like to express in your life and embody for yourself? What qualities would you like to receive in life? Even make a list of the professions, pastimes, and hobbies that you would like to connect to. Because what this does is it starts to align you with being a self-generator of your truth, of becoming your authentic self, which is the only self who is ever going to gratify you and create a true life filled with true components, including true people. This step number 2 is the future trajectory of you believing in yourself. So now we need to dig some of the crap out that hasn't been allowing you as yet to generate these realities for yourself. And this is where we identify the patterns in our life that we've continued to live, and we own them as ours. And we get in the driver's seat to reprogram them so that we can stop living them. When we start living this way, we're connecting to incredible self-belief, because not only do we believe that we can create our own life, we know, we start experiencing that we are changing it. And we continue to do so more and more. So you need to ask yourself these questions for step number 3. What are the patterns I've received in my life that have continued to hurt me? What are they? Okay, so again, you can re-listen to this video, you can pause it and deeply feel into that question. Maybe it's people who've deserted you or treated you like you don't matter. Maybe it's unavailable people, abusive people, controlling people, adulterous people, jealous people, untrustworthy people, violent, raging alcoholics, or literal people that have got addictions to anything in particular, addicts. Whatever it is, write about it. The list, the people and the times in your life that this has happened. Now I want you to write after this. I now take back my power, acknowledging that this pattern is mine and that I can't receive anything in my life that triggers and hurts unless I've got a corresponding trauma within me already. Because so within, so without. These things that hurt me have been in repeat. The only way to be free of my inner pattern and these people and situations is to find and release my corresponding inner being traumas. And then everything about my love and relationship inner identity coding will shift, go free, and change. And then after you've written that down, you might have to stop and pause and go through and get all the words. I want you to really read it a few times and feel it in your body, because you're taking your power back by doing that. And after you've deeply felt into and really felt and thought about these patterns and written them down, you've got them identified. You are back in your power center now. And you're poised to make the only change that you ever can to change your life, which is yourself. And then we go to step 4. Step 4 is revolutionary. It's where a large majority of the real work is done. It's about beating the resistance that keeps us wanting to be a victim, wanting to stay blaming others and humanity, and thinking that everything and everyone else needs to change for our life to change, which is the ultimate illusion. And it keeps us from stepping into being the quantum creator of well-being that we really are, which means becoming the change that we want to receive in our life. And I promise you, because I've lived both ways, we don't ever truly believe in ourselves until we stop our defenses and ego resistances from sabotaging us. And they try damn hard to sabotage us because the ego pain body needs drama, pain and fear to survive. And it's only when you get past this that the ego feelings of competition, insecurity, lust, envy, fear, greed, addiction, compulsions, manipulation, using overforce such as control, or underforce with things like withdrawing and withholding, all of that stuff starts melting away. The relief of losing the over-obsessive brain is indescribable, which is what ego does to us when it's activated with, I am not safe and I have to find every way possible to try to control this situation, no matter the cost to me and others. So how do we do this? Step fully into the claiming of step number 4 to generate self-belief. The answer is really simple. We stop holding others responsible for our life. As children, they were. As adults, they're not. We stop blaming and shaming anybody, including ourselves. And we realize the quantum powerful truth of so within, so without. And then we have only one simple goal to achieve. This: release all my traumatic triggers and heal those parts of myself to completion. When we do that, everything starts to transform because of so within, so without. And after narcissistic abuse, we have a host of traumatic triggers to evolve beyond. Some examples are the feelings of total dependency and being let down, abandoned and left to die by key people in our lives, such as family members or a spouse. And that is module 2 work in NARP, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program. Or, as an example, the feelings of receiving unthinkable violations and traumas from people, cruel, senseless acts that we just can't seem to move beyond. That's module 4 work in NARP. Or the feelings of being responsible for others and we can't let go of abusers because we feel like they rely on us and they need us, and somehow we've got a soul contract to help them, regardless of how much they've hurt us. That's module 6 work in NARP. And the list goes on and on and on. And the truth is, no matter how many traumas there are, if they keep triggering off within us, we need to stop ignoring them and trying to numb them out with self-avoidance and even addictions, or of course, by keeping painfully attached into the patterns that are destroying ourselves, further hoping someone or something else will change it all for us. Instead, we need to go to these traumas and hold and heal them lovingly until completion, because that's the only way that we're going to change our patterns, stop driving into wrong town, and turn the vehicle of our body, mind and soul towards right town. And what we find is when we get out of our head thinking about the traumas that are triggered, which only causes us to set up defenses and resentments as a result of holding on to those traumas, and instead go inside to our inner identity in our body and find and release the trauma at the core. Not only does the pain, obsession and symptoms of trauma leave us, And then the abusers start shifting out of our experience because they're no longer a match for the composition of our inner identity. We also start developing incredible self-belief as a result of becoming our own healer, lover, inner parent, guru, and quantum transformer that we didn't know was previously possible. And for the first time in our lives, rather than feeling traumatized by life, we realize that we're starting to master our life in quantum ways. Step 5 is realizing that our mind, which is the agent of the ego, overcomplicates everything and takes you away from healing and not toward it. You cannot think your way out of inner being trauma. It doesn't work that way. In fact, your mind will find all the reasons to label this trauma, hang on to it, and believe this is so. Whereas our inner healing is actually very straightforward and simple. I don't believe self-belief is created from researching and learning everything there is to know about our limitations at all. And the people I know who self-research all their childhood issues and know them inside out and upside down, yet who've left the trauma inside their body, do not have great self-belief. In fact, in stark contrast, their belief is that of being a victim or a survivor of abuse, or a person who suffers post-traumatic stress disorder, and the list goes on and on. I know, because I used to be one of these people. I knew I was an over-functioning codependent suffering from OCD and anxiety disorders. I knew what that meant and why I'd developed that way, and I thought I just had to manage these conditions in my life, which painfully included every time I was triggered becoming the president of Over-Analysis Anonymous. It was like I had a whole board meeting of anxious people going off in my head. Whereas these days, and for many years, I much prefer when triggered to load up any associated trauma that's caused me to have the trigger with quantum freedom healing and shift it out and directly heal those responsible traumas. So these parts of myself that used to be like that have grown up into solidness and well-being beyond description. And there's now very few skerricks really remaining that can be triggered now. And when it does happen on much less levels than what my whole life used to be, which previously was one cataclysmic trigger after the other, I still load up and shift my inner being and keep evolving myself to calmer, more solid, wise, and glorious ways of being. And I hope that if this relates to you, that I can help you realize this. Learning everything about your trauma and the associated painful ways they manifest are keeping you stuck in them. And that's exactly where your mind, your pain body, your ego would love you to stay, as a victim to them. But instead you can shift them, lose them, and evolve beyond them. You can set yourself free, because gone are the dark ages of having to be stuck with our diseases. We're far more advanced than that now. And when you take your power back with quantum tools, you're going to start living this. You'll live it. So these are the example of how ridiculously straightforward and uncomplicated the true healing path is. People say to me all the time things like, I'm working with NARP, Mel. I want your advice in this particular situation, whatever it is, where I feel small, insignificant, and powerless. What should I work on? And my answer is this: you've already identified it. The feelings of being small, powerless, and insignificant in that situation. Go to that and shift that. People say to me, he left me immediately after me for another woman, and I can't reconcile how he did that. What should I work on? I say to them that. Exactly the feelings of that in your body. Go to it and shift it. People say to me, my ego is saying you don't deserve to heal. How do I get past that? And I say, go to exactly that in your body, the trauma that you feel in there on that, and shift exactly that. It truly is that literal and simple, regardless of all the questions, distractions, and sidetracks that our mind tries to take us on, all of which are heading towards wrong town. What happens when we start freeing ourselves from what hurts and make space inside us where that trauma previously was? This is what happens. The natural flow, the organic source of life force, love, light, and well-being that is our natural state without our trauma enters our being, starts flowing through us as us. So again, the healing path is not complicated. It's only our mind that loves to complicate it. Because truly, in every answer I ever give in any of my forums, it could be these 20 words. Go to what hurts in your body, load it up and release it, and bring in source to replace it. And whatever it is that you need to work on, it's exactly what hurts right now. And even if you can't name it, if you can feel it in your body, that's enough. You don't even need to know what it is to shift it. And your mind may not want to comprehend that quantum healing is even possible. Truly, it is something you need to experience to believe. And then you know it because you start living it. Your life starts healing and you start believing in yourself in ways that your mind could and would never achieve. So when you start actualizing your healing path, there are two main purposes that you're going to use quantum tools for. The first is to keep cleaning out the pain and traumas that are not who you are, which keep being triggered up to the surface within you. And the second way is to clear the blocks and fears and limiting self-beliefs that arise as you start wanting to move towards right town, so that you can become the inner warm knowing, this feels really natural for me, with all the new ground that you start breaking into in limitless ways in your life, which includes love, career, health, extended relationships, feelings of well-being, and loving being in life, you name it, all the stuff you want. So do you think that when you've broken through into being self-actualized, no longer trying to live with your wounds and instead living a life of unlimited growth and possibility as a result of freeing yourself from them, that you will be excited about the levels of self-belief that you're going to start feeling? You bet you will. So, just to quickly reiterate, we're just going to condense the ways to create self-belief after narcissistic abuse is: number one, connect with yourself. Number two, establish your identity. Who are you? 3, identify your patterns which have been blocking you from being your true self. 4, commit to start shifting out your traumas. And 5, stay out of analysis paralysis and do the work directly in your body instead. That's it. That's the winning formula to incredible self-belief. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to learn more about to heal for real from toxic relationships and narcissistic abuse, you can sign up to my free 16-day recovery course. And it includes an invitation to a healing workshop, which is all the stuff I talked about today with me, as well as a set of ebooks and lots more. So to access all of this, just click the link on the top right of this video. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you like and subscribe so you get notified as soon as each new video is released. So until next time, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.